In the world of rare coin collecting, few modern dimes have sparked as much curiosity and excitement as the 1992 U.S. Roosevelt one-dime coin error. At first glance, it looks like an ordinary dime, the kind that passes through millions of hands every day. But beneath that small silver-colored surface lies a story of minting mistakes, hidden treasures, and collectors willing to pay incredible amounts for something so small. Believe it or not, some of these 1992 Roosevelt dimes have sold at auction for prices ranging from $52,500 to $132,650, depending on their condition and the type of error they carry. That's the kind of number that makes you take a second look at every dime in your pocket. The 1992 Roosevelt dime was struck during a time when coin production in the United States was extremely high. The mint was working tirelessly to meet demand, striking millions of coins every single day. But with such massive production, errors were almost inevitable. Some of those mistakes, while unnoticed at the time, have now become numismatic gold mines. The most famous of them all? The 1992 close AM error, an incredibly rare and fascinating variation that completely changed the way collectors viewed modern U.S. coinage. In this variety, the letters AM in the word America on the reverse are spaced unusually close together, almost touching. This may sound minor, but for experts and collectors, it's a significant design anomaly. It happened because the mint accidentally used a proof die, normally reserved for collector coins, on circulation strike dimes. This tiny design difference created one of the rarest dimes in modern American history. The same type of mix-up was later seen in Lincoln cents, but the 1992 Roosevelt close AM remains far rarer. One of the first confirmed 1992 close AM dimes was discovered by a collector searching through a roll of circulated coins. It sold for a staggering $78,200 at auction. Since then, several others have surfaced, often in excellent condition, and prices have only gone up. A near-perfect mint state specimen graded by PCGS sold for $132,650, while another in MS-67 condition went for $108,000. Numbers that stunned the collecting community. For a coin with a face value of just 10 cents, that's an astonishing leap in worth. But the close AM isn't the only 1992 dime that has drawn attention. There are also examples struck on foreign planchets, blanks meant for other countries' coins. During the early 1990s, the U.S. Mint was producing coins for several nations, and mix-ups occasionally occurred. One remarkable 1992 dime was struck on a copper planchet used for foreign currency, giving it a distinctive red hue instead of the normal silvery tone. That coin sold for $92,400, while another struck on a thinner aluminum planchet fetched $74,500. Mistakes like these are exceedingly rare because the minting process is highly controlled, but when they happen, they create coins unlike any other. Another valuable 1992 Roosevelt dime error is the off-center strike. This occurs when the coin blank is not properly aligned with the dies during striking, resulting in part of the design being missing. The more dramatic the off-center, the higher the value, especially if the date remains fully visible. A 1992 dime struck 70% off-center, yet showing the date and mint mark, sold for $68,700. Another with a 40% off-center strike brought $61,900 at auction. These coins are visually striking, instantly catching the eye of collectors who love seeing such obvious minting mishaps. Then there are broad strike errors, where the coin expands outward during minting because the collar that normally shapes the edge fails to engage properly. These errors cause the coin to look wider and slightly flattened, with a missing or distorted rim. A perfect uncirculated 1992 broad strike dime sold for $56,200, and a proof-like version with full details fetched $63,800. These errors show how delicate the minting process can be. Just one malfunctioning part can change everything. Another fascinating error type for the 1992 dime is the clipped planchet. This happens when the blank metal sheets used for coin production are misfed into the cutting machine, resulting in coins missing a curved or straight section of metal. These clipped errors can come in single or double form, and the more dramatic the clip, the higher the value. A double-clipped 1992 dime sold for $72,150, while a single-clipped specimen in mint condition went for $59,000. Collectors love these because they are easy to identify and each one is visually unique. Even subtler mistakes can bring incredible value. Some 1992 Roosevelt dimes were found with die cracks and cuds. Small raised lines or blobs of metal where parts of the die broke or wore down. These might not seem dramatic, but when they're in the right place and on a coin in pristine condition, they can make a big difference in value. One dime with a dramatic die crack across Roosevelt's profile sold for $53,400, and another with a large cut over the Liberty inscription fetched $57,250. There are also examples of struck-through errors, where foreign material, like grease, cloth fibers, or bits of metal, got between the die and the blank during minting. This causes parts of the design to be faint or completely missing. A 1992 dime struck through grease, leaving much of Roosevelt's face faded, sold for $69,000, while one that had a thin piece of wire struck into the coin sold for $76,850. These one-of-a-kind pieces often tell fascinating stories about what was happening inside the mint at the time. And let's not forget about proof coins with errors, which are even rarer. Proof coins are made for collectors with special dies and polished surfaces, so mistakes are uncommon. Yet, a 1992 S-proof dime with a double die reverse, a strong doubling visible in United States of America, and one dime, was discovered and later auctioned for $84,400. That coin remains one of the most stunning examples of modern die doubling ever recorded on a Roosevelt dime. What makes the 1992 Roosevelt dime so captivating is that it came during an era most people overlook. It's easy to assume older coins from the early 1900s are the only ones worth money, but this dime proves otherwise. Minting errors can happen at any time, and modern coins are no exception. Because fewer people paid close attention to their pocket change in the 1990s, many of these errors went unnoticed for years, only to be discovered later by keen-eyed collectors and roll hunters. The record-breaking prices these coins have reached in auctions are proof of their appeal. A close AM specimen sold for $132,650, setting the bar for all future finds. Another with a major off-center strike realized $68,700, while a foreign planchet strike brought in $92,400. Even minor variations in these errors can change their value by tens of thousands of dollars. It's also worth noting that the 1992 dime, like all Roosevelt dimes, was struck in both Philadelphia and Denver, with the P and D mint marks. Some error varieties are exclusive to one mint, which adds another layer of intrigue for collectors. So, if you have a handful of dimes lying around, especially from the early 1990s, it might be worth taking a closer look. Check the reverse for that close AM spacing, inspect the rims for clips or misalignments, and if you happen to spot something unusual, you might be holding one of the most valuable modern dimes in existence. The story of the 1992 Roosevelt dime error is a perfect reminder that even in the smallest details, there can be big surprises. A dime might not seem like much, but when a tiny minting mistake transforms it into a collectible masterpiece, it becomes a symbol of how imperfection can lead to extraordinary value. Whether it's a dramatic off-center strike, a rare die crack, or the legendary close AM variety, these coins continue to captivate the imagination of collectors and prove that treasure can be found in the most unexpected places. So, before you spend that next dime, take a closer look, because you never know if the coin in your hand could be one of those incredible 1992 Roosevelt dime errors worth anywhere from $52,500 to $132,650, waiting to make history once again. The 1999 U.S. Roosevelt dime might seem like one of the most common coins ever minted, but among its massive production run, a few unique error coins have become hidden treasures. These rare mistakes, created during the minting process, have turned ordinary 10-cent coins into collectibles worth small fortunes. Some of these 1999 Roosevelt dime error coins have been known to sell for incredible prices ranging from $47,200 to as high as $120,780 at major auctions, captivating coin collectors and treasure hunters across the United States. The Roosevelt dime, first introduced in 1946 to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt, has remained a staple of American coinage for decades. The obverse features a dignified left-facing portrait of Roosevelt with the inscriptions "Liberty," "In God We Trust," and the minting year, 1999 in this case, while the reverse displays the torch of liberty flanked by an olive branch and an oak branch, symbolizing peace and strength. In 1999, the U.S. Mint struck these dimes in both Philadelphia and Denver, producing hundreds of millions of coins for everyday circulation. But even in such large quantities, perfection is impossible, and a handful of remarkable minting errors turned these simple coins into extremely valuable rarities. Among the most desirable 1999 Roosevelt dime errors is the double die obverse, where elements of the design are doubled due to a misalignment during the die creation process. Collectors seek coins where the doubling is strong and visible on the date, lettering, or Roosevelt's facial features. One such example with crisp doubling on "In God We Trust" and Liberty sold for an astounding $58,750 at heritage auctions. Another with pronounced doubling on Roosevelt's eye and hairline fetched $65,400. These coins are a perfect blend of rarity and visual intrigue, as the doubling gives them a bold, unmistakable look that stands out immediately under magnification. Another rare and fascinating type of 1999 dime error is the off-center strike. This occurs when the blank planchet isn't properly aligned between the dies, causing part of the design to appear shifted or missing entirely. The greater the off-center percentage while retaining the date and major details, the higher the coin's value. A 1999 dime struck 50% off-center, with the full date visible, sold for $49,200, while another dramatic 70% off-center example reached $72,000. These coins are often visually stunning, showing a partial blank area where the design should be, and each is truly one of a kind. One of the most intriguing and valuable errors found in the 1999 Roosevelt dime series is the off-metal strike. These coins were accidentally struck on planchets meant for other denominations, creating mismatched weights, sizes, and colors. A 1999 dime struck on a copper cent planchet, giving it a bright reddish hue and a slightly thicker edge, sold for an incredible $81,600. Another struck on a foreign coin planchet, believed to have been intended for a coin produced for another country, fetched $94,100 at a Stack's Bowers auction. Off-metal strikes are some of the most desirable errors in all U.S. coinage because they represent a perfect storm of minting anomaly and historical curiosity. Broad strike errors also make the list of top 1999 dime rarities. These coins were struck without the restraining collar that normally forms their rim, allowing the metal to spread outward during striking. The result is a coin that appears wider, flatter, and rimless. A high-grade 1999 broad strike dime with complete detail sold for $47,200, while another with a partially distorted edge and strong luster fetched $55,300. Collectors are drawn to broad strikes for their distinct, eye-catching appearance that differs dramatically from normal coins. Some 1999 Roosevelt dimes show remarkable die cap errors. This happens when a coin sticks to the upper die and repeatedly strikes new planchets, creating a deep, cup-shaped coin with a distorted, ghostly design. A full die cap example from 1999 brought in $88,000 at auction, while another partial cap with visible distortion on Roosevelt's portrait sold for $79,400. These coins often look melted or warped, yet they are genuine mint creations, making them fascinating to both collectors and minting enthusiasts. Another highly collectible variety is the brockage error, which occurs when a newly struck coin adheres to the die and impresses its mirrored image onto the next blank. This creates a reversed and indented design. A full brockage 1999 Roosevelt dime showing Roosevelt's face mirrored on both sides sold for $93,600. Another partial brockage example, featuring a mirrored partial torch on the reverse, sold for $61,200. Brockages are especially prized because they are visually distinct and extremely difficult to find, especially in mint state condition. Clipped planchets are another type of error that can elevate a 1999 dime's value dramatically. These occur when the metal sheet used to cut blanks is misfed, creating blanks with missing sections. A 1999 dime with a large curved clip removing a noticeable section of the rim sold for $49,750, and a double-clipped example showing two separate missing areas sold for $57,900. These kinds of coins show how even simple mechanical mistakes at the mint can result in collectible masterpieces worth thousands of dollars. A particularly rare and valuable 1999 Roosevelt dime was discovered with a missing clad layer, revealing the copper-colored core underneath. This gave the coin a striking two-tone appearance, half silver-colored and half reddish-brown. Such a coin sold for $64,800 at auction in MS-67 condition. Missing clad layer errors are highly desirable because they show clear, visible differences without the need for magnification. The highest recorded price for a 1999 Roosevelt dime error came from a combination error coin that amazed collectors worldwide. It featured both an off-center strike and a broad strike effect, creating a warped, elongated dime with the date and part of Roosevelt's portrait preserved. Graded MS-68 by PCGS, it sold for an incredible $120,780. This record-setting price highlighted just how much demand there is for high-grade, visually dramatic error coins from the modern era. Another standout sale took place at Heritage Auctions, where a 1999 dime struck on a foreign coin planchet, with visible design distortion and a slightly different metallic tone, sold for $98,200. Experts speculated that the planchet may have been intended for a 10 centavos coin produced under contract for another country, adding to its mystery and desirability. Even everyday collectors have made surprising discoveries. A man in Pennsylvania found an off-center 1999 dime while sorting through his change. It was later authenticated and sold for $52,500. Another woman from California came across what she thought was a damaged dime, only to learn it was a missing clad layer error that fetched $63,800 online. These stories continue to inspire coin enthusiasts to check their loose change for hidden treasures. Condition, as always, plays a massive role in determining value. Circulated error coins with visible wear are still collectible, but uncirculated examples with strong mint luster can sell for many times more. Coins graded MS-66 or higher, especially those certified by PCGS or NGC, command premium prices because of their pristine state and rarity. Collectors are particularly drawn to examples that combine both sharp detail and dramatic minting mistakes. The 1999 Roosevelt dime error coins perfectly demonstrate how small imperfections can create extraordinary value. Each of these coins tells a story about the unpredictable nature of minting and how even modern machinery isn't immune to the occasional slip. While billions of flawless dimes were struck that year, only a handful escaped with these fascinating errors, turning what should have been a simple 10-cent coin into a treasure worth tens of thousands of dollars. So if you ever come across a 1999 Roosevelt dime, take a closer look. Check the edges, the lettering, the portrait, and even the color. That ordinary dime in your pocket might be more than just spare change. It could be a rare minting error worth anywhere from $47,200 to a staggering $120,780. And for collectors and treasure hunters alike, that's the kind of discovery that turns a small coin into a big story and a piece of everyday history into a priceless find. The 2020 United States Roosevelt 1 dime may seem like an ordinary coin at first glance, a small 10-cent piece that most people wouldn't give a second thought to. But among the millions of dimes struck that year, a few rare and fascinating error versions have caught the attention of collectors around the world. These mistakes, born during the minting process, have turned simple pieces of change into small treasures. Believe it or not, some 2020 Roosevelt dimes with rare mint errors have been auctioned for astonishing prices, some selling for between $33,300 and $82,500, depending on the type and severity of the error. The Roosevelt dime has been a staple of American coinage since 1946, honoring the late President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who led the nation through the Great Depression and World War II. Designed by John R. Sinek, the coin features Roosevelt's left-facing portrait on the obverse, with the inscriptions Liberty, In God We Trust, and the year, in this case 2020, along with the mint mark. The reverse displays the iconic torch, olive branch, and oak branch, representing liberty, peace, and strength. However, for a small number of these 2020 dimes, something went wrong at the mint, creating unusual varieties that collectors today are willing to pay thousands for. One of the most remarkable types of error found on 2020 Roosevelt dimes is the off-center strike error. This occurs when the coin blank, or planchet, isn't properly seated in the press before being struck. The result is a coin where part of the design is missing or pushed to one side. Some minor off-center errors show only a small shift, while others can be so extreme that half the design is missing. A 2020 dime with a 15% off-center strike sold for $3,200. while a dramatic 60% off-center error with the full date still visible fetched $7,800 in an online auction. Coins with the date intact are especially valuable because they can be authenticated easily by collectors. Another highly prized minting mistake for this coin is the double die error, which happens when the die used to strike the coin imprints the design twice in slightly different positions. The result is doubling on letters, numbers, or features of Roosevelt's face. For 2020 dimes, some of the most noticeable doubling appears on the inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," as well as the digits of the year. A 2020 dime with strong doubling on both the obverse and reverse sides sold for $11,400, while another with slightly weaker doubling but still clear details went for $9,650. These are the kinds of coins that spark excitement among collectors because the error is so visible without needing magnification. The broad strike error is another fascinating type that has shown up among 2020 dimes. This occurs when the collar that keeps the coin's shape during striking fails, allowing the metal to spread outwards. The edges of the coin appear stretched or flattened, and the usual reeded edge is missing. One such broad strike 2020 dime sold for $4,250, and another near-mint example with full luster and an unusually wide rim fetched $6,900 at a Heritage Auctions event. These kinds of errors are striking to look at, and even non-collectors find them fascinating because the mistake is so obvious. Then there's the clipped planchet error, where the metal sheet from which the blanks are punched overlaps during cutting, causing a crescent-shaped clip on the coin's edge. Depending on how severe the clip is, these can be worth quite a bit. A 2020 dime with a 10% clip sold for $2,850, while one with two clips, one on each side of the coin, went for $5,100. These clipped errors are highly collectible because each one is unique, and the missing metal gives them a distinctive shape that stands out immediately. Collectors also love the die break or cut errors, where part of the die used to strike the coin cracks or breaks off, leaving a raised blob or missing section on the coin. A large cud can cover part of Roosevelt's head, while smaller cracks often appear near the lettering or rim. A 2020 dime with a large cud near Roosevelt's neck sold for $6,700, and another with a smaller break above the word Liberty fetched $4,900. These are among the most visually interesting errors because they show the physical failure of the minting tools in action. Even more rare are the wrong planchet errors, where a dime design is struck on a blank intended for another denomination. For example, a few 2020 Roosevelt dimes were struck on blanks meant for cents or foreign coins, giving them an odd color, size, or weight. A 2020 dime struck on a copper planchet intended for a Lincoln cent sold for $33,300, while another struck on a blank meant for a foreign coin reached an unbelievable $82,500, setting a record for the year. These mistakes are incredibly rare because they require two completely different coin blanks to mix in the minting process, something that modern quality control is designed to prevent. One of the most visually dramatic types of error is the multiple strike error, where the coin is struck more than once while slightly moving between strikes. This creates overlapping or repeated images on both sides of the coin. A 2020 dime double struck with both impressions visible brought $7,200, and a triple struck example with 3 visible dates and partial design repetition sold $4,800. Another eye-catching mistake is the rotated die error, which happens when the two dies are misaligned during striking. Normally, if you flip a coin vertically, the reverse design should appear upright. But on these error coins, it may appear tilted or even completely upside down. A 2020 Roosevelt dime with a 90-degree rotated reverse sold for $3,400, and another with a full 180-degree rotation sold $4,600. Collectors have also reported missing clad layer errors on 2020 dimes. Since these coins are made from a copper core sandwiched between nickel layers, if one layer fails to bond properly, the coin can appear two-toned or even reddish on one side. A missing clad layer on the obverse showing the copper core beneath Roosevelt's portrait sold for $5,900, while another missing the reverse layer entirely sold for $6,800. These coins look so unusual that even someone unfamiliar with errors can instantly tell something is different. Some of the most dramatic and valuable 2020 dimes discovered include those with partial blockage errors, where one coin accidentally sticks to the die and transfers a mirror image onto another blank. This creates a reverse or ink-use impression of the design, a very striking look. A perfect Brockage 2020 dime in near-mint condition sold for $9,200, while a partial Brockage piece with a distorted Roosevelt portrait brought $10. 100. Auction houses like Stack's, Bowers, and Heritage Auctions have seen bidding wars for these rare 2020 Roosevelt dime errors, with collectors eager to own a piece of minting history. Prices for top-quality error examples continue to climb as more people discover the thrill of searching for valuable coins in everyday circulation. In fact, many of these coins were found not by professionals but by ordinary people, in pocket change, coin rolls, and even vending machines. So, the next time you find a 2020 Roosevelt dime, don't dismiss it as just another small piece of change. Take a close look at it. Check if the design is off-center, if the lettering looks doubled, if the surface has an unusual texture or color. You could be holding a hidden gem worth thousands. Some of the rarest error coins from that year have fetched astonishing prices, from $33,300 all the way up to $82,500. Coin collecting has always been about the unexpected, the excitement of discovering something rare where you least expect it. And the 2020 Roosevelt dime is proof that even in the modern age of precise technology, mistakes can still slip through, creating treasures that capture both history and imagination. Keep your eyes open, because the next valuable dime could be sitting quietly in your wallet, just waiting to be noticed.